Welcome to our show, Dr. Awasthi.
Thank you and namaste.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
It's first time in Nepal.
Absolutely. It's the first time.
How did you feel?
It's a beautiful country and beautiful people.
I want to know what are the autism spectrum disorder and how we simply define on it.
Autism spectrum disorder is a disorder in which there are certain symptoms that the child shows. Autism is detected before the age of 3 years. You cannot be detected with, you can be detected, but you cannot be developing autism after 3 years. So, either children are born with symptoms of autism or they are uh, uh, showing symptoms of autism by about 1.5 to 2 years. Detection can happen much later. Now, it's a spectrum disorder. There are some children who have very severe symptoms, and there are some children who have very few symptoms. And that is why it is called from severe to moderate to mild. The symptoms are basically in two categories, and these two categories are socio-pragmatic language disorder, which means that the child does not have the natural ability to pick up language from other people, from parents. And the second part of the disorder is repetitive and rigid behaviors. Now, repetitive and rigid behaviors means that these children will also show repetitive behaviors. They will be playing with the same thing again and again and again.
Which case is being fast recovery, language behavior or rigid behavior?
Children who show both language disorder and the rigidities, they are generally in the more severe category. And children who are having language disorder only, they are more on the mild side because they don't have
There
other
has
symptoms.
one level or a different level of autism.
There is a whole spectrum. It's called a spectrum disorder because there will be people at different levels. No two children with autism are alike. They are completely different from one another. Both may be spinning, but one will have maybe more cognition and one will have difficulties in learning. So, that's the reason why it's called a spectrum disorder.
Well, Dr. Smita, what are the causes of autism disorder?
There is a lot of research going on right now, and they have not been able to pinpoint any cause. There are families in which there are twins. One child has autism, and the second twin is perfectly normal. So, if we say it was genetic, then both children should have had uh, autism. However, research is still going on, and there is no conclusive evidence on what is the reason why autism is happening in the country and is rising at an epidemic rate.
How can we cure and care of autism disorder?
Diagnosis is one thing, but eventually it is about care and treatment. The treatment of autism is recognized only through therapy. There is no medical treatment for autism. You cannot give any medicine and autism will go away. It's the intensity of the therapy that is really important in the cure or care of autism.
What are the types of therapy?
There are a lot of types of therapy. Uh, a lot of them are not evidence based. So, internationally, the therapy which is recognized in some countries like America and Canada, uh, those countries recognize applied behavior analysis, which is a science of behavior modification, as the therapy for children with autism. Now, in those countries, why it is recognized? Because insurance is paying for the treatment. In other countries also it is recognized because people like me who have been working with children with autism for 35 years, when I started applying applied behavior analysis based therapy, I found a lot of improvement in my children. So, children who used to earlier improve slowly, now when I use the science of behavior analysis, their improvement is so much faster.
What is the situation in autism disorder?
The numbers of children with autism are growing tremendously. In 2000, in the year 2000, there used to be one child in 10,000 who would be diagnosed with autism. The latest reports are showing that children, one child in 59 to 250 is being diagnosed with autism. But actually it is an increase because we have grown up in a society in the last so many years. I have been working in special schools and there used to be hardly any children with autism. Today you go to any special school, there are children with autism with a certain set of symptoms. So we can't just say that awareness has increased. Actually the number are growing.
Is it long-term disorder, and what are best solution and parenting roles on it?
This is a complex disorder. Let me say this. Because it is mainly a language disorder. And language is complex because sometimes we say things with a comma and the whole meaning of the sentence changes. So language is very, very complex. It's not very straight. And so many times we mean something and we say something else. It's the choice of words. They will be able to function normally, they can be independent, but they might not be able to understand the complexities of the society.
Dr. Smita, you meet with Nepali parents also.
Yes.
What is the level of knowledge on autism?
I have to say I was quite impressed with the people I met.
How can we make another 100 plus, Dr. Smita Awasthi?
Thank you very much for saying that, and it's an honor that you are saying that. I think one of the most important things in this journey of my trip over here has been that I see that some amount of awareness has already come in because of the media and the role that you are playing in building the awareness. However, what I find is that there is a 30 to 40-year gap between what is happening in other countries and what's happening in Nepal. Now, if we want to bridge that gap and quickly start doing the latest things, then that would be the best thing. Rather than go through the learning cycle and learn slowly on what is happening where. Now, if we create a resource pool of people who can learn, study, learn and get certified. There is only one board in the world called the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. That is the only exam which recognizes behavior analysts. So, if we have more students who are studying behavior analysis and who can mentor under a behavior analyst and meet the national standards, international standards, then we can create a huge resource pool.
What are the recommendations to Nepal government?
One recommendation to the government would be not to encourage eclectic approach. Eclectic approach is do horse therapy, do this therapy, do that therapy, and also do applied behavior analysis based therapy. So they should very clearly recognize applied behavior analysis as the most evidence based treatment for children with autism and encourage to develop a resource pool. The second recommendation would be that if they can actually hold a conference where they can bring in applied behavior analyst experts, and I have connections across the world and I can always help with that.
Dr. Smita, how kind of mechanism to take care and cure of autism disorder should be placed in rural areas? Proper medical facility are not easily accessed.
I don't think it's a very difficult thing. I think the government can do a few camps every year in which they train the grassroots level people in screening. It's not very complex. It's a behavior observation based diagnosis. So they can teach them screening And once they are screening at a very early age, they should be recommended to go to the cities and go to the hospitals and get the proper diagnosis from the doctors, from the developmental pediatrician and from the pediatric neurologists or the psychiatrists. So they should come to them for the diagnosis, proper diagnosis, and even if they are having red flags, they should start the intervention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Awasthi.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this talk.